Hey guys, welcome back to On the Middle Shelf. My name's Amanda, and today I want to share with you some books that I'm really excited about that are coming out in October, November, and December of 2023. Okay, so normally I do two separate videos where I have middle grade books and then adult YA books that I am super excited about, but this time around I'm consolidating it all down to one video. So I have 14 books to talk about today. They will be all mixed together as far as age group goes, but they will be in publication order. So I will start with the books that get published the earliest in October and then go through the end of the year. I will share with you the dates that they're going to be published as well as a little bit about each book. So let's just get into it. The first book that I want to share with you that I'm super excited about comes out on October 3rd. It's a middle grade book, and it is called Alebrijes. It is by Dana Barbara Higuera, and Dana Barbara Higuera is the author that wrote The Last Quintiso, which won the Newbery Award last year. So when I saw she had a new book coming out, I immediately was like, yes, please, because The Last Quintiso was so good. And this is another like sci-fi book that I am really excited about. So it's a sci-fi with like Latina, yeah, spin on it. And so this one follows, it says that this is the story that was told to me by Leandro the Mighty. And so it follows this story. It says, for 400 years, Earth has been a barren wasteland and very few humans have survived. And so 13-year-old Leandro and his sister are doing what they can to try to survive and forge for a life in Pocatel, which is a city in this new Earth. And so they get caught stealing fruit, and he ends up taking the heat for it. His sister gets caught, he ends up taking the heat for it, and he ends up getting exiled. But instead of it being just a simple banishment, his consciousness is played inside an ancient drone and left to fend on its own. So it just sounds really, really interesting. And Dana Barbara Higuera is just so creative in the way that she is able to weave a story. And so I think that even though this one sounds like kind of out there as far as a concept goes, I think it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to check it out. So that comes out October 3rd. All right, another one that comes out October 3rd that I am super stoked about is Sea Garden. This is Plotting the Stars Book 2 by Michelle A. Berry. I read Moon Garden, which is the first book in this series, during middle grade March this past year, and it was one of my favorite books of the month. It was so good. And so this is the second book in this series. This follows Myra, who lives on this she lives on the moon, I believe. But it's definitely sci-fi. It's in this like spaceship sort of situation. But I believe like the first book, she's on the moon in this habitat. And so this is kind of going off of the events that happened in the first book. So I can't really tell you a whole lot. The first book is a retelling of The Secret Garden, and it is so good. But this one is definitely just goes a little bit further. I don't know as though this one is necessarily a retelling. It says that it is perfect for fans of The City of Ember and Divergent. It is definitely STEAM inspired, so like science, technology, engineering, art, math. I'm trying to remember what STEAM stands for. But it's definitely very heavy in like the sciences and that sort of thing. But I think that this is just going to be a really good spinoff. The cover is gorgeous. The cover is what drew me into Moon Garden, and it did not disappoint. I was so blown away by the first book. So definitely go check out the first book, and then the second book comes out on October 3rd. All right. Also on October 3rd, another middle grade book. I promise you there's other books on here besides just middle grade, but I had to put this one on my list. It's called The Cricket War. This is by Tho Pham. Guys, I know I'm not saying that right, and I apologize. And Sandra McTavish. This follows I believe, 13-year-old, I'm trying to find real quick, 12-year-old. A 12-year-old boy's escape from communist Vietnam in the 1980s. So I think that this is going to be so good. I had a friend whose parents immigrated to the US from Vietnam in the 1980s, and I just think that this is going to be really impactful. It is based off of the author's own story, and so I think that this is, yeah, I personally really want to read this. So it sounds really good to me. But that's the basis of it. All right, next, also on October 3rd, October 3rd is a big publishing date, guys, is Lost Time. This is by Tas Mukanik, and this is a middle grade graphic novel that is like Jurassic Park-esque. We'll say Jurassic Park-esque. It's about dinosaurs and people with dinosaurs, which that is my sweet spot, I have found. Like, I've read some stuff about dinosaurs that's like just the dinosaurs. I need people cohabitating with the dinosaurs, and that is my, like, I love. So like Jurassic Park, love. One of the series I read during middle grade March, Edge of Extinction, love. And I think that this is going to be amazing as well. It says Jurassic World meets How to Train Your Dragon. It's an adventure-packed middle grade novel about a girl who gets trapped 65 million years in the past and must learn how to survive with only her wits and the pterosaur she befriends. Sounds amazing, and I cannot wait to read it. So definitely adding that one to my, I might have already pre-ordered it, list. So yeah. All right, next on the list is a historical fiction book. This is the newest book out by Noelle Salazar, who is one of my auto read authors. I have loved both of her previous books, The Flight Girls and Angels of the Resistance, both. Loved both of them, and this one is kind of going in a different direction because those two books were both World War II books, and this one is set in the 1920s, and it just sounds like it's going to be so good. It is, the like premise of it is that one of the curators at the Smithsonian Museum is putting together a like Hollywood glamour exhibition as far as like the clothes of Hollywood from the past. And she's putting the like central piece on the model or on the mannequin and finds a tag on it that she doesn't recognize the name of the person on the tag. And so she starts researching it a little bit more and finds out all about this person, Zora Lilly. So the name of this book is The Roaring Days of Zora Lilly. I forgot to say that. But so it's all about this woman, Zora Lilly, who was a woman who lived in poverty and kind of got into the underground speakeasy scene in the 1920s and kind of how she got to designing dresses. And it sounds like it's going to be good. I love Noelle Salazar's writing, is what it just boils down to. I will read anything she writes, so I'm excited to read this one. I forgot to say that The Roaring Days of Zora Lilly comes out on October 3rd. So, but this next one by Heather Morris comes out on October 24th, and it is called Sisters Under the Rising Sun. It is about some people that are on a boat that is trying to escape Singapore because it is about to fall to the Japanese. And so they are on this boat that, is it a U-boat or just a boat? I don't remember. But they're on this boat and it is hit by a Japanese submarine. It is torpedoed and it goes down, and a couple of the survivors make it to land. However, the land they make it to is occupied by the Japanese, and so they are taken to a prisoner of war camp immediately. There is one gentleman and two women, and so this book follows the two women who are sent to this prisoner of war camp and their journey through the war and how they survive, and it is based off of true events, and I think that it's just going to be super impactful and, like I said, a little bit of a different view of World War II than what we normally get. So that one comes out on October 24th. All right, on November 7th, we get a new book by Sharon Cameron. You guys, I just read my first Sharon Cameron a few weeks ago, and I am obsessed. I loved that book so much, and now I need to read everything she's ever written. But this is a new book by Sharon Cameron that is set during World War II in Amsterdam and follows a girl whose family owns a art gallery, and then when the city is taken over by the Nazis, they kind of steal all of their art, or they try to buy it, that sort of thing. And so she decides she's going to start trying to sell forgeries and give the money to the resistance to try to smuggle babies out, Jewish babies, out of Amsterdam. And it is based off of real events and true people, real people. And I cannot wait to read it. I think it's going to be so good. So that is called Artifice by Sharon Cameron. All right, also on November 7th is another middle grade graphic novel. This is an adaptation of a book I've read, and that is Keeper of the Lost Cities. This is the first book. I think they split it into parts, so I think this is just part 1 of the Keeper of the Lost Cities book 1, but they're making them into graphic novels now, and the first one comes out on November 7th. I've already pre-ordered this. I cannot wait. I think it's going to be such a fantastic way to introduce kids to the Keeper of the Lost Cities world and hopefully entice them to just go ahead and read those big chunky books right there. That's what all of those are. So very excited for that. All right, next on this list, I have a romance. This is The Good Part by Sophie Cousins. I have not read her first book yet, but it is on my list. But I am excited for this one. This follows Lucy, who is just kind of going on disastrous date after disastrous date. She doesn't like her job. She's kind of miserable. She's in her 20s. Yeah, she's 26. And one day she stumbles upon a wishing machine, and she makes the wish that she says, please let me skip to the good part of my life. And the next day she wakes up and she is in her 40s and has kids and is married and has her job that she likes. And so she has literally skipped to the good part of her life. And so it kind of attacks the idea of going through the hard parts to get to the good part. And is that what makes you enjoy the good part? Or can you just skip everything and skip to the good part? And I think it's going to be a really interesting story to kind of make me think a little bit about my own life. So yeah, that one comes out on November 7th as well. All right. On November 21st, we get the next book in the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. And this one is Defiant. And I have to read book 3 still. So I know I'm kind of a hypocrite for putting this on my list, but I'm definitely pre-ordering it and excited for this one to come out. Like I said, this is the 4th. I believe there's going to be 5 books total. I've read the first 2 and a couple of the novellas. So I need to read the 3rd one and the novella that goes between book 3 and 4, and then I can read book 4. But I love this series. It follows a fighter pilot that is living on a different planet. It's a sci-fi series, YA series, but it's so good and so well done, and the world building is so great, and I love this series a ton. So I'm excited for book 4 to come out on November 21st. All right. Then after that, we have a new book by Lynn Painter, who is also one of my now auto-read romance authors. This is one of her YA books, which I have not read her YA yet, so I need to read her first 2. But I have read both of her adult books, and I really, really, really love her writing. This one is Betting on You, and it says it is a combination of She's All That and 10 Things I Hate About You. And that's pretty much what sold me on it. That's all I knew. And I was like, sign me up. Because 10 Things I Hate About You is one of my favorite movies of all time. And yeah, so this has to do with 2 teenagers who are working at a water park over the summer, and they don't get along very well, and then they start getting along a little bit more, and they start making bets and kind of people watching and making bets on how other people are going to be living their lives, and it just sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see how I jive with Lynn Painter's YA books. All right. After that, on November 28th, we have The Last Love Note. This is by Emma Gray. I believe that this is a debut novel. I'm not 100% sure. But this has to do with a woman who is grieving the loss of her husband. She is a single parent. She is working full-time, and she's grieving, and she hasn't really had the space to do that with because she is parenting and working and she has all these responsibilities. And then one day she is on a business trip with her boss, and because of some plane issues, they end up having to emergency land, and they end up spending a week on the like in Australia or something like that. And it really just gives her the space to grieve, and grieve appropriately. And I think that this will be really interesting take on that. I've read quite a bit about, people who have lost people and grief and all of that, but I think adding in the concept of being a parent and having this job and having all this responsibility and trying to grieve as well, I think will just add another element to it. And so I'm excited to check that one out. That is The Last Love Note by Emma Gray. All right. And then the last book on this list comes out on December 5th. And this is a contemporary book. It is called The Fairy Tale Life of Dorothy Gale. This is by Virginia Cantra, and this is a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. And that's pretty much what I knew going into it. But it follows Dee, who kind of gets herself in a little bit of a publicity situation at her university and decides to study abroad in Ireland. And so she goes over to Ireland and meets some new friends that all represent the different characters in The Wizard of Oz. And I think it's just going to be fun. I think that this is definitely going to be just a light, fluffy, fun book for me. I love reading retellings off of like nostalgic either movies or TV shows or books of mine, because I like just reading them and being able to see all of the parallels. And so I think that this will be just a fun one. So that's why it's on this list. But those are 14 books that I'm really excited about that are coming out between October, November, and December of 2023. If you are really looking forward to these, I would love to hear about them down below, or hear about it down below. These will all be linked down below, so feel free to pre-order them as you see fit. Pre-orders definitely help authors out quite a lot, and so I will be pre-ordering some of these. Like I said, I actually have already pre-ordered some of them. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. If I missed any on this list that you're super excited about that are coming out, I know I missed Iron Flame, guys. I know Iron Flame's coming out. I'm very well aware, but I figured I would maybe put some attention to some of the other ones that not many people know about. So, but do not get me wrong, I know Iron Flame's coming. But if there are any other books that you are excited about that are coming out in the next few months, definitely mention those down below and I'll be sure to check them out. And that's going to do it for today. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya!